All right, good morning. I hope your weekend was wonderful. 2 Christmas parties, busy weekend for me. Good morning, good morning. Happy Monday. This is week 3 of month 9 of Masterplan 365. This month we're talking about personal finances in our planner. And today we're going to be talking about debt management. I am actually a very big fan of debt, and so that might surprise some people. I don't think debt is evil, and so I have a different outlook on the way debt works. I think of it as a tool that you can use, and so we're gonna have some conversations about it today. How you can make sure that you're in control of your debt, and I think you'll enjoy it. So stay tuned. We're going to talk a lot about how to manage it. Good morning. Good morning. If you are new, I'm Jane. I'm the CEO and founder of janesagenda.com. We build planners that actually work. This is Masterplan 365. It's our free year-long training course on productivity, and anything you want to find out about Masterplan 365 can be found at janesagenda.com/masterplan. Okay, so you can go join. It's never too late to jump in, even though we're in month 9. You can join anytime. We're in the middle of month 9 right now, talking about personal finance, but we've covered so many topics already. So, all right, good morning. Now, of course, today is also the first day of Planathon. And so if you haven't joined the Facebook group and you've purchased your Planathon tickets, make sure you go join the Facebook group. I put a link in my Jane's Agenda. I sent out several emails. Go join the Facebook group. Make sure you get that workbook. We're going to have a lot of fun. That's today at 2 p.m. MST when we're going to go live to do that together. But you have a little bit of stuff to do ahead of time. You have to join that Facebook group, and you have to download the workbook. If you've joined that free, or not free, that paid training that we're doing. So, good morning, everybody. All right, so let's talk about debt. Got to figure out how to turn off the sound on this laptop. 2 seconds here. There we go. All right. Hopefully you can still hear me, and I didn't just mute everything. You know how technology loves me in the mornings. All right. So I am actually a very big fan of debt. I think debt, when used appropriately, is a fantastic tool. There are things that I've done in my life and my career that I couldn't have done if we didn't have debt. And so I don't look at it like this big evil that must be annihilated. I would probably not be able to drive the car, live in the house, have the business that I have if I didn't embrace debt, right? Because who can afford that kind of money up front? So when you look at it like a tool and not a hindrance, there are definitely things you can do with it. Now, the problem with debt is it's kind of like gambling, right? People can get out of hand. So let's talk about making sure that we are the ones in control of our debt and what we can do to make sure that we're paying it down appropriately. So we're going to talk about how to pay down debt. I'm going to tell you my preferred method. But first, let's talk about the 2 most common methods that people use to pay down debt, because we're going to use this information throughout this lesson today. So the first method is called the snowball method. You've probably heard of this one before. Dave Ramsey, big fan of the snowball method. In the snowball method, you pay down the smallest debts first and maintain your minimum payments on the rest of it. Okay, so you let's say you have a bunch of different credit cards. Whatever the smallest amount owed on one of the credit cards is, that's the first one you pay off in the snowball method. And then you take whatever you were paying extra on that one, once that's paid off, and you roll that to the next one. This is really good if you need quick wins to build that oomph behind your debt repayment. Like if you get discouraged easily, snowball method is a good choice. It's not my favorite, I'll be honest with you, because sometimes for me, the smallest amount I owe is definitely not the most worthy debt to pay off. My favorite is the highest interest first method, also known as the avalanche method. I love that they're all about snow and we're doing this, when it's cold outside. So the avalanche method, which is where you pay off the highest interest debt first. This saves you the most money. I am a big fan of saving money. I'm also a big fan of not giving money where it doesn't need to go. So If I can reduce the amount of interest I'm paying, that's going to be my method. So they both have pros and cons, right? You could get discouraged paying down only the high interest ones and not feeling like you're making a dent in your debt. And so we're going to talk about that. But that's my preferred method. Now, of course, if you don't have a lot of debt, if you're living on just a couple credit cards, then snowball method might be perfect. Yeah, Celia. I have a very expressive face. I'm sorry. Snowball method is really good. I have some employees that maybe have 3 credit cards, right? They're all really low balances. And so it doesn't really matter which one they pay off first. Their interest rates are all about the same. Then the snowball method would be an absolute perfect choice for them. Keeping that motivation, feeling really good. But because I have no urge to pay off all of my debt, again, I think of debt as a tool. For me, it's just about not spending money. I have a lot of interest-free debt. I have a lot of debt that I've chosen to take on so that I can use my cash in a different way. And so if you're of that mindset, then you're going to want to keep the avalanche method, because we just don't want to give our money up to interest. All right. They both, like I said, they both have their different purposes. All right. I avoided debt with my business for years. For years and years and years. We just lived off of what we made. And about 5 or 6 years ago, I took on our first business-based credit card, our first business-based debt. Might have been a little longer. 11 years is a long time to remember. Okay. But what that did is it freed us up to grow. You can only grow as fast as your cash flow. Okay. And so by taking on business debt, we were able to grow faster. And so I firmly believe as long as it's used as a tool and that you maintain control of it, it has a lot of potential. What I don't like seeing is people swimming in credit card debt with high interest rates and minimum payments they can't afford. So if that's how you're feeling, we need to get a handle on that. All right. So the first thing I want you to do, if you haven't already done this month, which hopefully you did this in week 1, I want you to know how much you owe. All right. This is important. I do this every single month. Right after the first of the month, I go through and I list every single debt we have, not just credit cards. I list our house, our cars, all of the things. Okay. Every single debt you have. I want you to know how much total debt you owe on each credit card, each loan. I want you to know the interest rate that you're currently paying, because it changes. Credit cards change your interest rates. Just because you used to be at 4.9 doesn't mean you're not at 24.9. So let's check that every single month. I want you to know how much your minimum payments are on all of your debts, because the minimum payment is what you have to be able to afford. All right. If you're not paying your minimum payments, we're even worse. All right. Then we're hurting. We don't want those late fees. So those 3 things, I want you to know that every single month. You're going to find out your total debt. You're going to add up all of the amounts that you owe. Total. I want you to add up your minimum payments every single month, so you know the total minimum payment that you need to make. And I do this in chunks, and then I look at the total. So I look at how much my credit card debt is. This is unsecured debt. That means they're not going to come take anything from me if I don't pay it. Right? That's what unsecured means. And then I do all of our secured debt separately, so all of our cars and our house. And I combine them and I figure out what my total debt is. And so you need to know that. I also want you to keep an eye on, if you do the interest-free debt like I love, you keep an eye on when those are going to expire. And I check those every single month. I make sure I know the date. There are some, like balance transfers, that will just expire and turn into high interest debt after that. And they don't cost you anymore when they turn into high interest. You're just now paying a higher interest rate. So those ones are not as scary. But then there's ones like those pesky time constrained interest rate ones. So what happens is these lovely department stores love to give you, 12 months, no interest. It's not really no interest. They're racking up the interest in the back end. And if you don't pay that balance off by the deadline, they're going to put that entire balance of whatever 25% interest on your debt. You're going to add that in. And so we want to make sure that we know these details and keep all of that every month. I put it right there in my planner on my monthly pages. Like I don't use a special debt thing to add all of this up. I just write it in a list form on the back of my monthlies, and I keep an eye on it. I have other tools in my planner that I use to track whether I've paid my debts and things like that. But for this total balance, I just draw 3 columns and I add it all up, right? We want total balance, we want minimum payment, and interest rates. And then if there's something that's going to expire within the next 6 months because it's on an interest-free or a low interest plan, I'll put an asterisk next to it so I remember to pay attention. All right. I want you to know these things every single month, not just now. It's important. And I believe even when you're not the spouse or the person in the relationship that tracks the debt or the finances, that you should still see all of this information every month. I think it's important that we're all aware of how much we owe and how much we make. All right. So we're going to do that. If you have medical bills or student loans, don't forget those. Those are also important. I don't happen to have any of those. That's why I didn't list them. But if you happen to have any of those, make sure you keep those in there too. Personal loans, if you've got any kind of extra mortgage on your home, things like that, make sure you keep a running total. Everybody's lives are different. So you might have 2 credit cards while somebody else might have 25, and there's no judgment and there's no right answer. As long as we're using debt as the tool that it is, then you won't hear any judgment from me. All right. Now, I want you to know also, if you're struggling to pay your credit cards, I want you to have the date that each credit card is due written right there next to the debts in your monthly calendar. Okay, right there on the list. Write down the date that they're due, whatever the minimum payment date is. And I also want you to write this in your monthly calendar. We can't forget to pay those minimum payments. You may not be able to pay extra every month on every single debt you have, but let's not forget to pay them at all. All right. Some kind of payment tracker is very helpful for this. We have a bill tracker in our shop, any kind of habit tracker with, we're giving you an annual one in that January box, which closes like this morning. As soon as Emily gets in, we're closing the January box. So if you wanted to get that, you've got like 20 minutes to go subscribe. All right. Now, I like to set my goals up front. Like I said, for me, not paying interest. I hate paying interest. So I get real mad when I see that I owe some sort of 25% interest on anything. Are you kidding? That would drive me crazy. So that's the thing I pay off first. So once you start looking at this information, I want you to make a goal of what you want to pay down first. If you're going to do the snowball method, because maybe all of your interest rates are about the same, that would be a good tool right there. Highlight the one you want to pay off this month. Highlight the one you want to pay down this month. Look at your debt and figure out a plan, because information without making any decisions doesn't do us any good. All right. Now, if you're really, really working towards this, I recommend throwing all extra money at whatever the highest interest rate debt you have is. If you have a significantly higher interest rate debt than all the others, that is a good choice. The other thing to pay attention to is making sure that you stay away from maxing your balances. All right. That's another tool in my toolbox. I keep my credit score nice and high because I never get close to the maximum balance. So if you're close to those, we may want to pay down a chunk to get it away from that maximum balance, your credit limit. All right. So this is the tool I want you to have in your toolbox. I want you to really manage your debt. I want you to be in control of it, and I want you to keep an eye on it. And I want you to know whether you're going up or down each month. The nice thing about doing the high interest pay down like I do, the avalanche method, is I don't really pay so much attention to individual amounts. And it's very helpful for me that I can see the total going down. Now, if you want to add an extra reward to your planner, right? You want to boost those happy chemicals in your brain. Keep track of how much interest you paid that month. And I mean, across the board, right? Car loans, your mortgage, your everything. How much interest did you pay in December? Like, start looking at that. And then next month, when you look, how much interest did you pay in January? That's a really easy way to tell if we're making progress, right? Because as long as we're not paying interest, it's not bad debt. It's just debt, all right? It's not something that you need to fear as long as we're in control of it. I am going to be very transparent with you. I have never been out of debt my entire adult life, and I have no urge to ever be out of debt. I don't think of it as a terrible bad thing. It's allowed me to live a really fantastic life and business life. And so I don't want anybody being scared of their debt. I just want you to be in control of it, because once you're the one controlling these things, you will feel better. All right. So planners are your tools. Write it down. Now I do have a spreadsheet, but I'll be honest with you, it feels really good to cross off a debt, to cross off that you paid this thing off, or adjust the interest rate manually. I really like writing in my planner. I have a spreadsheet that I update like every 3 months. I was doing it monthly, but I just don't have the patience for that. But I write it physically in my planner every single month. And I highly recommend, if you are the spouse or the person in the relationship that keeps track of all of the finances, that you still include the other person. Okay. You include your husband or your wife or girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever else is living in your home, that you guys are managing your finances together. I encourage you to involve them in this process. I think that relationships should be open and honest, and sometimes that involves having difficult conversations about where we stand financially. So that's my advice there. All right. So that's pretty much it today. It's really fast, because once you see that you're going to make these choices, you can then go and write them in your planner. You're going to take this and you're going to make a plan. So let's say that you choose to do the snowball method. You're going to highlight the debt that you want to pay down first. That way you have no question. It's kind of like giving yourself a rule that you pay the minimum on all the other ones, and this is the one you pay the extra on. And there's nothing wrong with making more than one payment a month. If you can't afford to make a big lump sum on one credit card one time a month, if you have to do it 20 bucks here and 20 bucks there, that's totally okay too. But I want you to know that. And then I want you to write it in your planner like a task, that you do this, okay? Not necessarily that you pay it, because maybe you can't pay it all the time, but that you keep it top of mind, because what we focus on gets attention. So if you write down every week that you need to check on that debt, even if you don't pay it every week, if you just write down that you check on it, it's going to stay top of mind and you're going to work on it. That's my tool for everything, though. Keep it front and center, so I have to pay attention to it. And so if paying down debt or paying down high interest, which is kind of a different thing now that you understand how I like to look at debt, if that's important to you, let's keep it front and center in our planners. I know. I'm sorry, Celia. I know you joined the thing later, the planathon. We're going to hang out for hours. Do you want more homework? I can give you more homework. We're going to have fun today. The first day of planathon, we're going to be doing a guided brain dump. I'm going to walk you through my process. I want you to do it with me live. And so it's going to take a chunk of time, but I really want you to go through this process. Then we're going to work on creating goals. And so it's going to be a good first day. It's going to be very liberating. It's going to feel like a weight lifted off, and I'm so excited. So if you're not prepared for Planathon, go get prepared. Print your workbook and get your planner and your pens and everything all set up before 2 p.m. because I'm going to go live. Now I'm going to make sure we have a few extra minutes in case you have trouble finding me. It's in that Planathon Facebook group. And again, Planathon is still open for people to join, but only till Emily gets here. So if any of you haven't joined and want to, you can go join Planathon until she gets here. Once she gets here, we're going to shut that down. That's at janesagenda.com/plan2025. All right. All right. Do you have any questions for me about debt before I let you go? I mean, I could talk about this all day because it's something that I do constantly. I mean, debt is the tool in my toolbox that allows me to succeed. All right. Give you a second. Still waiting on my workbook. You should have gotten a couple emails with links, and there's a link in the Facebook group. Liz, if you're not in the Facebook group, we need to go and join that. If you can't find it, send me an email at hello@janesagenda.com and someone will get you in there. All right. As long as you've paid for Planathon, we'll get you in there and figure it all out. All right. Make sure you get it printed. If for some reason, I'm going to break the rules right now. If for some reason you can't print the workbook today, you at least need a notebook. You need some place to write for today. It's going to be a real challenge if you're trying to do this all later. I want you to do it live with me if you can. You know, Stephanie Joy, as long as we're in control, nothing's scary. Okay. And I mean that for debt and everything else. There are lots of big risks and scary things out there, but as long as we're the ones, you know, holding the puppet strings, it's okay. All right. I will see you all today at 2 p.m. if you're in Planathon. Otherwise, I will see you later this week when we go live to talk about planner things. 2 p.m. MST. 2 p.m. MST, which is 1 p.m. Pacific. All right, if that helps anybody. All right, thank you, everybody. I will talk to you later. Have a great day.